Welcome to O's Across the Pond, the show covering all things Baltimore Orioles, but from a fresh European perspective. Join us for the highs, the lows, the heartbreaks, and everything in between. Whether you're a die-hard fan or just discovering Birdland, this is your home for passionate, across-the-pond Orioles talk. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to another episode of O's Across the Pond. In tonight's episode, we're going to be reviewing the Rangers series, unfortunately, and trying to look ahead with some form of positivity, if we can find it anywhere. Looking at the Rays coming to Camden Yards in a repeat of the series last week when we were down in Tampa. Tonight, joining me, south of the Watford Gap, as always, Andy. Very nice to be on the pod again with you.
Indeed, good to be back after a little enforced break with work, but looking forward to trying to find some positivity out of what is not quite so positive at the moment. Yeah,
it's tough, isn't it? It's like sitting down the back of the couch and you find a couple of old pound coins. I'm searching everywhere to try and find some positivity at the moment. It's from the last couple of weeks, and you kind of think, we're getting back in this race for that final wildcard spot. And
yeah.
But I think when you look at it, we have always, I've probably been clouded by optimism. We have always we've got to the point of, we were 16 games back. And then we got to that point of being 11, 10. I think we might have got to 9 games back at one point, maybe 8. And we're just flicking in between that 11 that isn't that consistent run that's going to be required to figure in this week.
I agree with you totally on that. That we flatter a bit. We're a baseball team. We're going to win and lose. We do need to remember sometimes that you do lose a lot of games in a season, but we're just losing games, and we're trying to be no hit. 3 times in the last 5 games we've gone through many innings looking like we could be no hit. We'll come to game 3 in due course, but it just seems we're either being almost no hit, or we play quite well, or we implode. But we'll go through that, and I'm sure we can find some shreds somewhere.
Yeah, it's a challenge, isn't it? Obviously, we'll look at game 1, which was that Monday night? Was it Monday night or the Tuesday morning?
It was Monday night or Tuesday morning, whichever way you want to talk about it. We were all fairly asleep. The things that take... If we'd have said a couple of months ago that our 2 best pitchers at the moment would be Uncle Charlie, and who keeps wheeling his Zimmer frame out pretty well, and that player that we all forgot about because he was that useless last year, Trevor Rogers. Now, at the beginning of the season, we were wondering where wins were going to come from, except for Zach, except for Sagano. Now the tides have turned, and I'm not even talking about Norfolk. We're looking at other pitchers coming through and doing it, but Zach and Tommy Sagano have fallen off a bit of a cliff at the moment. We did have some really good performances. 3 hit, 8 inning shutout, which was the longest of Trevor Rogers' career. He'd only done it once ever.
Yeah.
And he looked the pitcher that we hoped we got last year when we did the trade with the Miami Marlins, to try and get a pitcher to take us through to the playoffs. It really, really didn't work last year, but he's had 2 no-hitters or no runs against him in 2 of his 3 starts this year. We're not going to see him in the next series, but it's looking like there's a little glimmer of hope. So there's a bit of positivity there from Trevor Rogers, and we will see Charlie Morton in due course, but he hasn't pitched badly since the beginning of the season. He's doing pretty well. I think he's still in the top 15 of all pitchers in the last 5 games, which is quite incredible.
Yeah.
We did get some good performances in that game, though. We had Jackson with 3 for 5, including a really good home run. Everyone got a hit except, and this is something we talked of before we came on. Gunnar Henderson is not in Gunnar Henderson mode at the moment. In the 3 games, he was over 10. He hasn't got that big swing. He's only getting singles and doubles. He's not getting the home runs. Something isn't quite right with Gunnar at the moment, and don't know where we're going to go. But let's look at the positive there. First pitcher to go 8 innings and have a shutout for the Orioles since 2021. So 4 years, which is absolutely brilliant.
That was that against the Phillies that I think I remember in 2021.
So
I mean,
very good.
Trevor Rogers, we've discussed that trade numerous times in our kind of not so subtle digs at Mike Elias. Obviously, what we gave up and what it seemed like we'd got on a turn. Baseball is pretty much like every other sport in regards to the fans are so fickle when it comes to.
Yep.
All it takes is 1 or 2 bad performances, and
that's it. The end of the world is nigh. Absolutely.
Yeah, a young kid's a bust. You see it in the NFL, the NBA. You see it in. I'm sure people were possibly wondering that about Jackson Holiday last year. And in regards to Trevor Rogers, his 2 performances have been outstanding. He's starting to look like and whisper this quietly, that Mike Elias might have done it again. However, I think the Trevor Rogers train that people are starting to jump on, I would probably be waiting for a few more stops before I board the Trevor Rogers train. It's outstanding.
No,
it's great. It's it's 2 games. Pitched the shutout, 8 is ERA's 1.24. However, let's see what it's like.
No,
after 10 games, 20 games.
Agree totally.
But it is a positive. I just think there needs to, and maybe it's because we're in
such a negative mindset at the moment.
Yeah, and there's been a bit of positivity, and then the Yankees series, probably that Yankees series, looking back on it now, is probably where we are and what we are.
Yep.
It could have been 3-0. And it probably should have been 3-0 to the Yankees. They probably should have swept that series.
Yep.
But we managed to get a win there. And you look across this week, that if it wasn't for Trevor Rogers won that game, it could have been a lot different.
No, I agree. And if you look at what we did give up for Trevor Rogers, Stowers and Norby are really, really not setting anything alight down at the Marlins organisation. I think combined wins above replacement are in 0 point somethings. So if we kept Silent J instead, we kept Heston back, that really hasn't worked. But I don't think Stowers would have been any better than Heston. So we got away without having to give away the crown jewels to get something. We gave away something a little less. When we come to the trade deadline, I think that's probably the same again. We're not going to be giving away anything special, but we'll probably catch up with that on the later pod this week when we can talk about the general trade deadline rather than just Orioles based.
Yeah.
But we didn't give away much. We didn't get much. But if we've got a decent left-handed pitcher, which, let's face it, we've only really got Cade Povich, who I know he pitched a rehab game yesterday. Wasn't brilliant, wasn't stellar. 4
2/3 yesterday. Couple of hits.
But Cade Povich, we know, is very cold and maybe a little heat every so often. If we've got a regular 5th-day starter that's left-handed, that is going to be valuable for us, no matter what we're doing going forward.
Especially when his velo's getting up to 95, 96.
Yeah, indeed. Which he wasn't the real Trevor Rogers last year, but I don't think we know what the real Trevor Rogers actually is anyway.
Yeah, I think, again, Mike, the front office of Mike Elias, they took a lot of
stick.
Yeah, I was thinking of another S word.
Indeed, but we're polite and we're family friendly on here for now.
For now, apart from when we're talking about our starters not being able to go 5 innings without doing something to their kecks, which was in Sunday's episode.
Indeed,
yeah,
so.
I think coming up to this trade deadline, it obviously carries on the way we're going. There are going to be players leaving, but I think if you look at Trevor Rogers, and if there's a couple of prospects out there that are playing, double A, or they've even made, they're even in triple A, and they fit the model and the mantra of the Orioles organisation at the moment, and the farm and the development system of there's something here that we can work with.
It could be, couldn't it?
He's
just come into good form just at the right time. Absolutely.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's interesting. I think that's what we've kind of got to be prepared for. If you're giving up someone like Cedric Mullins.
Yeah, Cedric at the moment, the problem is ever since we've touted him as a trade bait, he's gone through the floor. And unfortunately, I don't think you'd get much for Cedric at the moment. And the other point, and we mentioned this in the pods before, the qualifying offer, which is north of $20 million, would you pay Cedric at the end of the season would you give him a qualifying offer? Because he'd probably take it and go, cheers then.
I think at this moment in time, he probably would be inclined to take it because I don't think he's going to get...
I don't think he's going to get traded. I don't think that there's any...
Yeah, there might not even be suitors for him because...
It's not enough value.
And if you look at, obviously, teams that are desperate for outfields, the Padres for one, or what are they going to be willing to give up for Cedric? And is Cedric Mullins the type of centre fielder that is going to go into that organisation?
Yeah, it was mentioned on one of the other pods that he's actually got a negative wins above replacement at the moment, which is for normally he's way above because of his defensive metrics, but they're not brilliant. He doesn't make many errors, let's face it, but he hasn't been the Cedric flying through the air like Superman that we know he can be. So I don't think there's as much value in Cedric as there was. There is still, and we'll talk about it later, there still is, for some, Ryan O'Hearn being the absolute candidate, which I'd be really upset for him to go. As you know, I am the chairman of his fan club, and I feel there's a place, but he could command something decent come the trade deadline, especially as he's almost locked in as an all-star as well, which is absolutely fantastic for someone that was pretty much dumped by his previous team, and we have developed him into at least a half decent hitter, and he is, and a semi good first baseman as well.
On Ryan O'Hearn, I was listening to the Baltimore Banner pod yesterday, and they were talking about, obviously, this was before last night's results, as you talked about, the trade deadline. And Ryan O'Hearn was one of them, where you go, obviously he's a free agent anyway in the off season. Do the O's go back kind of 20, 30 years ago and say to him, look, go to a team that's going to be pushing for the World Series playoffs. Keep your phone on in the autumn, because we're going to come for you, and you get the I don't know whether I know the Yankees did that, didn't they, a couple of years ago? Someone left the Yankees, won the World Series, and then he was back in after November.
But we've got to hold on to everyone else for that.
Yeah, and you're getting a couple of prospects in return for a short-term effective, which is a short-term rental for. So that, I don't know. That was just an idea that was floated to the O's, go back to something that they did, 20,
I agree.
years ago.
Of course, the other two that we were mentioning in the trade was Eflin and Sagano, who are they're both awful at the moment, to be honest. Now, Sagano can't cope with the heat by the looks of it. Eflin has just fallen off a cliff and is floating around somewhere near the bottom. they're not the value that they used to be. I don't see them going anywhere, but I also don't see potentially Eflin being given a qualifying offer, because that would be absolutely immense. Again, he might jump at it and go, cheers then, take me $24 million and I'm here for a year. What I do see is a couple of the relievers possibly going, because let's face it, our bullpen is still pretty hot. Even though we've been dumped in it a few times, you've got Soto, Dominguez. I mean, even Felix Bautista's being talked about. That would be a wrong move in my opinion, unless you got a massive haul for him. Because
he's still under team control, isn't he, as well? I think till 28. So
indeed, so you'd have to get a massive haul for that. And what are you going to get? Because you're not going to get a pitcher to match him. We haven't really got another closer of any use. We can close by committee like we used to, but we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting time, especially as we've started to go to the we are not back again, and falling backwards. And we've only just talked about game 1. We've got to talk about game 2 and 3 yet. I know we've been putting it off because they weren't good, but game 2, Uncle Charlie coming out and not doing his best performance, but not bad for what we've seen.
I mean, look, Charlie Moore of late, as we've said, if you took his first 10 games at the start of the season off him, he'd be having a pretty,
tidy. He'd be like 5-1.
He'd be having a tidy season. Yeah. I mean, he gave, decent start, and then he gave up.
Four hits, 3 runs in 5 innings, so it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, gave up 3 runs in the 4th. It's that he's going to be susceptible to that kind of performance.
Yeah,
and
one dodgy innings.
Yeah, but how many times have we said that about a few of our pitchers? Like with Povich, he could get through 3, and then two thirds through the 4th, but then it's coming. But the game for me it falls elsewhere, because I mean the one positive for me coming out of the game is the top of the 7th.
Yep.
That they put on another one. So you fall down at the top of the 7th. Then all of a sudden,
but we didn't give up. We came through, and we did that well in that inning.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, they score. What did they score? 4. They scored 5, didn't they? In that,
including back to back, wasn't it? On the home run, Sanchez, Urias. Even though there was a call that they had to be waiting, then MV O'Hearn came along to make it 5-4. So you think, happy days. We're doing well. We're right in the late innings. We normally win a 1-run game in that, but no.
No, and I said the morning after that game, the Rangers were 3 for 14 and left 12 on base.
Yep.
We were 1 for they were 3 for 14, runners in scoring position, left 12 on base. We were 1 for 3, left 3 on base.
Yep.
That it just could have been it could have been close to another. What was the game back in April? It was the Reds game. Let me try to. It just wasn't a good game all round.
Defensively as well, the tag play that wasn't put on. There's niggly things that are happening that are not the way that anyone wants to see the Orioles play. When the ball comes in, Sanchez doesn't make the tag. It was so frustrating watching it, albeit the next morning, because at the moment there is little enthusiasm to watch the game overnight and see another loss.
I mean, I woke up this morning and I just was like, I'm not even watching game 3 back. But on the subject of the plays, how big of an issue have we got behind the plate at this moment in time, Andy?
We have. I mean, it's Gary Sanchez seems to be coming through a bit with the bat, but he's never been a good defensive catcher. That's absolutely clear. Everyone goes, and I was listening to another pod today where they were saying if you had a choice between James McCann and Gary Sanchez, all the metrics tell you that Gary Sanchez is the better player. But if you asked any Oriole fan at all, James McCann would be a country mile away. We're missing that leadership, that just everything about James McCann was always positive. Even when he had his face smashed in, he carried on playing. He was a true professional baseball player for the Orioles, and the clubhouse loved him. It's just a shame that I think we'd be in a much better position, because if Adley had gone on the DL last year, that's no problem. We've got James McCann. This year, you look at it and go, defensively, he's average, is Gary Sanchez. He's never been a good player. And that lost the game, effectively. That one tag play, yes, he nearly won the game with a 3-run home run, but he's still only, I think, batting 204. So he's way down. But behind the plate, we haven't got anyone. Maverick, obviously, is on the concussion IL at the moment. Trump certainly isn't the answer. We've got a big problem behind the plate, even when Adley is back, because we know that Adley can't play every day either. He needs to be DH'd probably every third day to try and keep him playing. But I don't see any out apart from the man that we're not allowed to name down at AAA that was scratched from his game yesterday, Mr. I can't even say his name properly, so I'm not going to.
Samuel Basallo.
That's the one. The very man, the one we're not allowed to mention. He looks like the future, but the future is not now.
Yeah, I was chatting to Grant about this last night on the commute home from work about Samuel Basallo, and the more and more you look at it, and without wanting to upset quite a few Orioles fans, because you just go on social media and have the conversations they're having about the front office and why hasn't Samuel Basallo come up. And I was one of them. I have been, but from listening to a few things and looking into a few more things, it's pretty clear why he isn't up at this moment in time. But I think come September, when you get those extra 2 spaces on the roster, I think he will be up. Well, he'll definitely be up, and I think he will be playing. I think he'll be behind the plate, and he'll be doing a bit of DHing.
Yep.
And those 20 to 25 games, and then spring training,
I think he'll be ready for next year.
And he will probably be He will probably be back up to Adley, and obviously, he can also play first base. Yeah, he will take DH. I think the big thing at this moment in time that is probably not the main reason for him not coming up, but certainly a contributing factor, is the fact that Kobe Mayo has earned his spot back up in the big leagues.
Yep.
Granted, it came about a bit more quicker, obviously, because Ryan Mountcastle went down with injury. But you bring Samuel Basallo into the lineup, it doesn't really quite fit at this moment in time. And then are you giving Samuel Basallo 10 at-bats a week, Kobe Mayo 10 at-bats a week, and you're not really getting anything out of the pair of them, then there's no kind of increased development, they're not seeing enough? Or do you let Kobe Mayo have his fair crack at the whip now? I think Tony Mantelino said that Mountcastle is likely to be more 2 months than 3. So Mountcastle is probably going to be probably bought back the end of July, early August. So can you really do that to Kobe Mayo?
It's a conversation, and time will tell what happens. But he seems to be asserting himself pretty well in there. I think one of the other interesting things about the catcher position is the signing, I think, is Jacob Stallings, that has just been signed to AAA, former Gold Glove catcher, and he's been stored at AAA. Does that err us towards maybe trading away Gary Sanchez if we can get anything for him when the deadline comes up? Because we've got him stored there. Bit of a strange one for me. I was looking at his stats. He's pretty. Well, is better than Gary Sanchez, I would say, from his stats. But it'll be an interesting thing to have that. Or are we worried about Adley actually coming back as quickly as we want?
Yeah. The Adley one is a concern. I know they don't want to give too much away.
Yep.
And they don't want to kind of write him off for 60 days. But obliques, you are looking for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, indeed, especially for a catcher.
Yeah, so and you don't want to rush him back, and then
just tear it again.
Things, yeah, you rush them back, but going back to another player we mentioned earlier on, James McCann. By the way,
he's back in the bigs, isn't he?
The Diamondbacks are a better team with James McCann than without him, and you could possibly say that for 25 of the 30 teams in the MLB.
I agree.
It's a fantastic pickup.
It's just a missed opportunity, I think, because we probably could have had him back and cheaper than Gary Sanchez, but they wanted to get something a bit better, and I think they've ended up with something considerably worse.
Yeah, I mean, definitely behind the plate. Obviously, Sanchez has been brought in for his yeah. And we've seen examples of that. Although he's hit homers off right-handers, and he was brought in for left-handers. But we take them when they come.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it was an acquisition that they probably thought this will do for this season, and the expectations they had, and they thought the bullpen was going to hold up early on, and it possibly it might have worked if the bullpen had held up their side of the bargain early on, but you can't go back and wonder. The fact of the matter is, it's a fundamentally big issue that we have at the moment at the plate. As you say, defensively poor. There was a couple in the Yankees series, especially when he came in for Maverick Hanley. There was the missed tag after an excellent throw from Gunnar Henderson the other night, and another excellent throw-ins. I think it was Jackson Holiday.
It was in the 10th, wasn't it? Yeah.
Doesn't make it, and it's just...
And everyone starts getting a bit disappointed, don't they? Then they expect you to make the mistakes, and therefore the runners are more aggressive, because if they think you're a poor defensive catcher, they're going to run harder on you, aren't they? And it ends up putting you in situations where it's much harder. They wouldn't necessarily do that with Adley, who is a much stronger defensive catcher. But yeah, let's all wait for Mr. Samuel to come up when he does. But it's not going to be anytime soon.
No, just one last thing on him. The only concern, the increased concern now about Samuel is because the hype has always been there with him.
And rightly so, because he does pop the ball up the fence quite well.
That he's had, although the hype when he gets to the big leagues is going to increase even more.
Yep.
My only concern is now, because of how much he is wanted, and kind of the fans feel that they need, and the organisation feels that they need. If he doesn't get the ground running, it could be difficult for him.
Exactly, and I mentioned it just then. Jackson Holiday last year, exactly the same, wasn't it? He was touted, and it didn't work straight away. He needed time. He's going to need time when he comes up, because it's a massive adjustment, especially if you're catching as well, because it's not an easy position to do. Calling the game and doing all of these things as well as all the hype. It's going to be hard, but I'm confident that he's got enough of him. I mean, he's moved up quickly enough as it is to move on, but we're going to see it at some point, just not yet. Yeah,
and I forgot to actually mention this. An honourable mention to Covey Mayo for Game 1 in Trevor Rogers' 8 scoreless innings. I thought he was outstanding at first base.
Absolutely,
a couple of plays, short hops. Yeah. Yep. Thought he was outstanding, and he is starting to look like
he's really coming along as a defensive first baseman. We've been spoiled a bit because Mountie, whilst he might not have been hitting, is a very, very good defensive first baseman. O'Hearn, a little less so, but good enough, but he is. I don't worry when I see Kobe Mayo sitting at first base on the defensive side, and he's started to hit the ball as well, which he's moving up. So all credit to Kobe for sticking in with it and getting there.
Definitely. So, unfortunately, Andrew, the way it works, you go, I go, you go.
Yeah, so you've left the best to last.
You have game 3, which is...
So I'll talk about the one positive. We had a hit. Mr. Cowser hit the only hit in the whole game. Brandon Young is not the answer. We know that. We knew that. We absolutely flagged it before it happened. Brandon Young is not the answer. Tony Mansolino was blaming lethargic fatigue, 16-game stretch. Yes, get that, but that's why you've got 26 players. The problem is we've probably only got 12. We're probably that are actually really okay to do it. And when you've got people on the team like Vasquez, who is not going to do anything for you, you ended up playing players. I mean, we've criticised in the past for matchups and playing, but when you've got 16 games in 16 days, you're going to get tired. I found it a bit strange why he got called up, because the day before an off day. So you get through that day off an off day, and then you have a bit of a break and relax. But they did it. They decided to do it. He was average at best. Defense was average. Offensively, we were absolutely shocking. I mean, it was just like, as I said at the beginning, that's nearly 3 times in 5 games that we've nearly been no hit. And we just made it out. Negative, finally blew it, because he gave up 3 runs as well. He's been reasonably good in the times he's been gone. I expect him to go back down again and then be DFA'd and off to another club and then back again, because that's what we do. He tends to go all over the place.
I think he'll
very,
be going.
very difficult for us to have any positives whatsoever from game 3.
On Brandon Young, I know Grant Carter might have mentioned it. It would have been today. Has he been unlucky that the games that he's pitched, he just hasn't been backed up at all by the bats?
Very possibly. I mean, the pitching performance from the Rangers was absolutely phenomenal. I think some of the comments that have been going around is it's one of the best games I've ever seen being pitched at Camden Yards. It was a masterclass, but therefore, did he think we're never going to win this one? We might as well not burn Zach Eflin, trying to do a pitcher's duel when he's not been on the best form. Very possible, but the bats aren't awake at the moment. They were okay for 1 inning in game 2, but that's pretty much it for the last couple of games. So I think he has been a bit unlucky, but you can't give up. What did he give up? 4 runs in 4 innings.
Yeah, 5 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikes, and a home run. Maybe the bullpen held up there outside of the bargain. I mean, take away Blewett, Baker, another scoreless inning, which with just 1 hit. Soto, another scoreless inning. Kittredge,
they don't give up. They don't give up much. The bullpen still doesn't give up much, but we tend to have 1 or 2 bad innings from a starter or the bullpen, and that's the end of the game. We don't give lots of hits up. We don't give up 5 runs in the first, then 4, then 3. We just do it all in one go, just to annoy us and almost give up.
Yeah, just for laughs, isn't it? It's just disappointing. You mentioned Gunnar there, obviously in game 1, and we know what Gunnar does in June. We touched on it a little bit before, and we talked about it before we came on air. And we have seen glimmers of June Gunnar Henderson this month.
We've seen him hitting, but he's not hitting like Gunnar does. And as I said, he's 0 for 10 in the last 3 games. which is very un-Gunner-like. He's batting just over 270. So
I'm just waiting for Tony Mantilio to go out and say, he just hasn't got his A swing at the moment. But when he does fire, when's this A swing coming? I'm not taking him out, but it is an issue when the bats are on cold. That he's the best player on the roster.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I know Jordan Westberg was back. That was a positive from Game 3. But he's been injury prone this season. Colton Cowles has been injury prone. We've got a lot of our big parts of the team just not quite getting the swings right. And Gunner needs to lead from that front. He hits third pretty much all the time. Do you need him to hit home runs? Well, that's what he's there for. He's there to put Jackson and whoever they decide, Laureano or Urias, into the winning column.
Yeah. And then we've got the Rays, Andy. We've got the Rays.
Again.
Who do you put the Rays above the Yankees?
You know what?
This season?
The Rays are an unexpected close team to the Yankees now. I think they weren't expected to do as well. Yeah, exactly. They're one game back. They got the advantage in they haven't got as many superstars, but that's often a good thing to have a good team rather than just have one or two good players. I saw something today that they're looking to see what they would need to do to host the postseason. So they hadn't thought about it, but they're now looking at where they might be able to play should they get a postseason berth. So I think they're looking quite serious. I don't like the fact that we're playing the Rays again when they're playing really well. We were
7-3 in the last 10.
Yeah, we were lucky to get 2-2 against them, to be honest.
Yeah, and they're currently playing the Royals now.
Yep, it was a 2 o'clock.
Yeah, top of the third. It's level at 0-0. Let me just check who's pitching for the Rays. Who's starting for the Rays? It is. Oh, hang on. Where have I gone there? Baz. He's one hit and across 2 with 3 strikeouts. So we're not going to see him this week, which is a bonus.
They're still showing TBD on there. They had a day off on Monday. Obviously, we've got a day off after this is recorded tonight. We have put our pitching matchups up. So we've got Tommy Sagano on Friday night. So that's midnight 05 UK time on the wonderful Apple TV. If the Rays are staying on turn, it should be Ryan Pepio, who was dominant in our last meeting. He was the one that tossed 8 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. So not really looking forward to that one. Sagano, again, Baltimore's really hot at the moment. I don't think Tommy likes the heat very much, and he struggled in Tampa, and he struggled in the game previous to that where it was very, very hot as well.
Yeah, it's a tough week. Is this run of games, Rangers and the Rays, where I think I said it on Sunday that the 9 games that we had in a row now coming up against AL opponents, the Rangers, the Rays, and then the Rangers.
Yep.
I was like, we need to go 7-2, 6-3. That.
And I can't see really, that. Well,
yeah,
we're already what 4-5 in the last games against the Rays and the Rangers. Yeah. The problem I don't like the schedule that much this year. We seem to be playing the same teams very quickly after each other, and that's never good. You don't like it's like in our football games. You really don't like playing a game against someone and then 2 weeks later playing them again because you're a bit too familiar. Obviously, it does give you the chance to right some wrongs, but it also gives you a chance to do the opposite and absolutely capitulate because they know what you're going to do. game 2 is Zach Eflin. So if we'd have been talking a month ago, we'd be going, happy days. We've got Cigano and Eflin. We've got 2 really good performances. Now, we could be sitting here on Sunday talking about the way that both of them came back, pitched really well. I don't see it.
No.
The Rays are going to pitch Zach Littell on the second game. Now, we defeated him last time. He pitched 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. The only good thing from our side is that's 2 right-handers in a row. And as we know, whilst we had a little sojourn of actually being able to hit left-handed pitching, we couldn't hit for toffee at the moment. So, and that's no slight on Everton, who are, of course, the Toffees.
The Toffees. Yeah,
it's a tough one.
I'm just not looking forward to it. I have held out hope, and probably for far too long, and I don't want to I never ever want to agree with a Scotsman.
But what did Grant say?
I'm kind of thinking, oh, should I have listened to that tight Scottish bastard?
Yeah, indeed. So the only good thing about the Saturday game is it's at 9:05 English time, which means that we actually can watch it. At least we can watch the start until we decide that no more is enough. But let's hope we're still looking at, say, 11:30 with something near to a score that we could be quite happy with. And then game 3 is a Sunday day game, which I used to love watching them. Then I used to hate watching them. 6:35, Dean Kramer. Now, he's been up and down. He's been good and bad. He's been bad and good. You never know which one you're going to turn up with. I think it's Taj Bradley, who we absolutely tanked last time we played him. We hit him for 6 runs in an inning and a third. Doesn't mean we won the game, because, of course, we then capitulated after we were 8-0 up and lost 12-8. But is he going to come back and try and do better? He did in his next start. I think he was a winner against Kansas in his next game. But which Dean's going to turn up?
And that's the thing, not to sound like an idiot here, but Dean Kramer, kind of like that famous quote from a movie about about a man who just doesn't stop running.
Life gives you 100%. Absolutely.
Life is like a Dean Kramer performance. You just don't know what you're going to get.
No, I like Dean Kramer. He can pitch. He can absolutely pitch. He's got a decent fastball. He's got lots of other pitches that when they work is absolutely phenomenal. Maybe there's also an Adley Rutschman part of this, because obviously he would call the game. We've got Gary Sanchez or Trump or maybe Maverick back by that point.
When's Maverick due back?
7 days, so he could be back on Sunday. I'd always have Maverick over Trump, I think, for the defensiveness, because it's actually a decent defensive catcher, calls a good game.
I'd also have Hanley ahead of Sanchez.
If we could.
Games and that Charlie Morton pitches, and
absolutely.
Maybe Zach Eflin needs someone who can call a good game behind the plate.
And I think we need to be mindful of that fact that it is a different catcher, and people say it is quite fundamental, especially if you get used to the way someone pitches and and can call that game a bit better, knows the pitches. I think we benefit from having a good defensive catcher in Adley and indeed Maverick. And I think some of the decisions, some of the pitch choices might not be as good with Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, so
gloom and doom, really, isn't it?
It is the gloom. It's gloom and doom. It's I just can't see anything. Mansolino came out, I think it might have been yesterday, or it might have been today during the off day, and he was mentioning obviously fatigue and which I think we kind of expected because of the position we put ourselves in. to try and get back, it was going to have to be the kind of like
It's going to be hard work. Absolutely.
Lights out, max reps, and hopefully things hold up. Look, try and stay positive. I would obviously love to see us, win the series against the Rays. But my sensible second personality is kind of seeping through now, and I just can't see it, Andy.
No, I think the only thing we can hope for is that we don't get swept. So if we could come away 1-2 against one of the strongest teams in the AL East at the moment, then I think we'd have to be okay with that. But you never know. We might surprise all of us, and let's hope on Sunday we're coming back and chatting about how we no-hit the Rays with Dean Kramer running 8 innings in the third, and we won 1-0. But we'll wait and see, because I can't see us scoring more than about 1 run.
No, so that leads us to ending on a positive. Well, ending this round on a positive. So I've got 2 positives this week. The first one is the 2 Ramones. Just, I mean, they've been superb, but how Ramon Urias and Ramon Laureano are the 2 constant positives of this organisation at this moment in time is disturbing.
Yep.
And my second positive is get to do another podcast review tomorrow, Andy, for our new show.
Hey, absolutely. So looking forward to that. We'll come up some different subjects, some non-Oriole stuff, and some bits and pieces. I agree with you on the Ramones. If you'd have said at the beginning of the season, you know what, in June you're going to be waxing lyrical about Ramon Urias and Ramon Laureano as your best 2 players, you'd be sending you off to the funny farm, because you go, don't be stupid. Now, I've always liked Ramon Urias. He's always been an honest, everyday, above average hitting player, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves for that. And also above average defensive third baseman. He is an all round, we'd call it in a British term, a good egg.
Yeah.
He's good. Ramon Laureano, a bit of a surprise, but his arm is as good as I've seen anyone.
When a runner's gonna kind of, Laureano's been around a little bit now. Yeah. When a runner's gonna realise that just don't challenge his arm, do not, because you're gonna end up looking at, he just does people a kipper every time.
Yeah, his arm is absolutely incredible. So a very good positive. I've got 2 as well, one of which I've already alluded to, and I've told you before the pod. One of them is we're not going to lose today. Absolutely 100% guarantee it, because we've got an off day, which is good. The other positive is still Felix Bautista, because all I remember is him throwing a hundy past Aaron Judge, and I'll remember that for as long as I like, because it's always a positive. If he stays with this team throwing 100, if we ever get a chance to save a game, we will win that game. We will not have a problem. And I'm looking forward to going to the light show when I'm at Camden Yards in about 4 weeks' time to go and watch the light show with him.
Just under 4 weeks.
The first game will be on the Friday night, so I'll be getting ready to fly across the pond. So I'll be doing O's across the pond. So looking forward to being in the splash zone as well. So get all that signage ready, and let's hope we have some splashing to take home with us, because I think it's going to be a warm one.
And maybe by then we might have won a game with a walk-off, and if not, hopefully.
Well, that's bizarre, isn't it? That's bizarre.
The only team in the major leagues that haven't.
It's one of the best things in baseball, isn't it? The walk-off. No matter what, you always...
The Marlins did it the first 3 games of the season.
Well, it did, and Cole Stowers did it in the first game of the season, which we'll remember.
And that was their first ever walk-off on opening day.
On opening day, absolutely. And all we had to celebrate was the home run from Tyler O'Neill, which made it 6 consecutive years with a home run on opening day. We we need to be looking for Tyler O'Neill to come back and hit the ground running. But if he probably hits the ground, he probably gets himself injured again. So he'll be back on the IL before you can say Tyler.
I think he'll be back this week. Obviously, he was at Abbott. He was kept down at Aberdeen, wasn't he? So
he was. I think he was off to Chesapeake to do the next game because someone wasn't. Yeah. So I would imagine that we'll see Vasquez going down for Tyler O'Neill to come up, which gives us a bit of an outfield heavy organisation. But as long as we're happy that Westy is going to be fit, then I'm sure we can cope, because at a push, you've got Kobe Mayo, you've got, and you never know, you might have your nemesis Jorge coming back very soon as well, because we all know that those three batters on base when he comes up is going to end up with a Grand Slam and a Grand Slam tattoo of our choice. I think we need to change that too. So I can think of some good ideas to put on your tattoo if you were to be so lucky.
I think the wording of the bet was I will get his name tattooed on me.
No, I think we can do better than that. But we'll discuss that more tomorrow night, I think. We
can, yeah. Look, Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been excellent to have you back on. It's been a short while. I know you've had a
couple of weeks, but
stuff going on. But I am some positive news this week, so I am happy for you, Andrew. So thanks. I will catch you tomorrow. This episode will go out tonight. Let's look forward to talking some trade talk and the Cal Raleigh Aaron Judge conundrum, which I know we've got some differing opinions on potentially about how good each of those are, which will be interesting to have a little tete-a-tete about. Yeah. So I've been Thomas, he's been Andy, we've been O's Across the Pond, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
See ya. Cheers.
That's it for this episode of O's Across the Pond, bringing Birdland to Europe one episode at a time. Be sure to subscribe, share and follow along as we keep the Orioles conversation going from this side of the Atlantic. Until next time, stay loud, stay proud and let's go O's.